Hey everyone, welcome back to Coding Out Loud. Today we're going to be doing something a little different today. We're not going to be focusing on the SaaS platform that I've been working on for the last few streams. Today we're going to be working on something a little more generic. And so the thought that I had was there's a analytics package that's out there by wdev-rs that's built for Laravel, but it still captures, I think, too much information for the size of site that's going to be using it. Plus, with GDPR and stuff, I think there's an opportunity for us to make it a little more privacy focused. I'm very much about keeping, private data private, and so I feel like it would be an interesting project for us to go fork that package and then make some changes to it using TDD, obviously, and publish it. With the caveat being that I've never published a package before, not on Packagist, not anywhere. And so this is a lot of it. This is going to be me figuring a lot of this out for the first time. I've done very, very basic research on this before, but I've never done it. So hopefully we can figure this out. I don't think the changes that we have to make to this package are too crazy, and we'll go over that in a second. But I think the signing up for accounts and stuff is going to be where things get a bit interesting. So what we're going to do first is just talk about why we're doing this. So like I said, the package collects too much data for my purposes, and I think probably for most people's purposes. When you look at the 7 principles of data protection, and we'll talk about that in a second, one of the principles is data minimization. And that's the idea that you only gather and keep the exact amount of data that's needed for your application. And so if you look at the data protection principles, this is by Cyberpilot. I think this is a great graphic. This is what we're going to be focusing on today, is data minimization. In particular, one of the bits of data that it collects that I think is unnecessary is a full IP address. While I can see arguments for collecting full IP addresses, in the context of GDPR, for example, they are definitely considered personally identifiable information. And so I don't want to keep that kind of data ever. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at things like storing just the CIDR range, which is like the IP range instead of the actual IP. That way we still have an idea of like where the person is, and we'll only be storing like the country of where that IP range is registered. We don't care about cities and stuff. It still gives us an idea of where the traffic is coming from and that kind of thing, but we're not keeping someone's IP address. I think that's just for our purposes, or for my purposes, that's too much information. I don't need that level of granularity. And I would assume that for most applications that are, anything less than, $1 million in revenue per year, that's probably all you need as well. So what we can do is we can use Laravel's process facade to execute the whois command to do the lookup of the IP address, and then within that lookup there is a range that we can just save and store, and we'll kind of format that because it's not exactly in the format that we want, and I'll show that all in a bit. And then, so there's inside this current package, there's also some extra stuff like there's a city column and a county column. There's a page model type and a page model ID. Those are the page model and page model type and page model ID are specifically for polymorphism. We don't, for my purposes, the application that I want to use this on, I don't really have a need for those specific types of tracking, and so we're just going to get rid of those. And then again, like removing the city and the county, that kind of thing, like that's again too much data for what we want. We just want something simple, like what country is this person coming from? Are they coming from Canada, or are they coming from Turkey? That kind of thing. And then also, because we're forking this package, we can go back and review the open PRs or open issues that they have on their repo and see if any of the changes that we've made to ours can also commit back to theirs, just to be good citizens kind of thing. So with that out of the way, I think we can get started and basically just start going ahead here. So let's go fork this analytics package. Oh, it looks like I already did when I submitted some requests before. So I'm just going to, let's sync it. Update branch. Okay. Just get rid of that for now. Okay, so this branch is up to date. Good stuff. Okay, so we can SSH, good stuff. So we're gonna RM, RF, Laravel. Do I have this? No, okay, so good stuff. Okay, Laravel-analytics. All right, cool. So let's go like that and save that there. And we'll also composer install to get all its dependencies installed. Okay, and so I'm assuming I'm hoping there's a composer test. Good stuff. So we have some passing tests. Okay, so how do we want to do this? I think what we're going to do is let's get rid of the stuff and I think we'll remove stuff before we add stuff and change stuff. I think it's best to start from the most minimal version and then we can go to the changes and add stuff. But I think it's important that we get rid of the stuff that we want to get rid of first. So let's do that. So we're going to get rid of the city, page model type, and page model ID. And so I know that in Laravel projects, those are going to be under database migrations. And so we can get rid of city. Oops. Page model type, page model ID. Okay. And if we save that, I guess we can get rid of this index too. Okay. And let's just run these tests again and let's see what's failing. So there's 2. Okay. Test page view tracing with which file is this going to be in? Interact. Okay, so it's just tests line 64. Tests, Laravel-analytics, test line 64. So it is test path. Oops. Okay, 1 failure. Okay, and then which page is this? This is line 46. Okay. Line 46 is this one, page view. Okay, so let's take a look at this factory and see what it's trying to create. Oops. Page view factory. Okay, so it's not being created there. Let's take a look at the page view itself. Okay, so has no column named page model ID. Yeah, we're not trying to do that. Extends model, new factory, page view factory. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, so let's just look and see where this text is actually being used. Okay, let's try and clear that. Let's run this again and let's see. One table, Laravel-analytics has no column page model. Analytics, got to be in here. It is not. All right. There's no reference to the page model anywhere, which is interesting because there should be some kind of reference there. So, okay, get. Okay, so is it in? Let's take a look. Repositories, page review, repository. Okay, so they're doing it like this. Controllers, analytics controllers tests. Well, what the heck? Page model. That shouldn't be anything in there. Controllers, shouldn't be anything in there. Let's take a look at the middleware again here. So crawler detect, we don't care about that. Page view, so session ID, path, user agent, refer. All right, so we're good there. So now we've basically cleared out everything that we don't need. And so the next thing we want to do is, in this package, they had used the county as a column. One of the things that we don't want to do is get that granular. But the nice thing about it is that we can just rename it to country and just find all the places where it's saying county, and we should be okay. So let's go up to the migration again and add this to country, change that to country. Run the test again, see where it fails. It does not fail anywhere, which is interesting. So they must not be setting country anywhere. That's okay. And so the last thing we need to do is, so the idea is that we should be able to use the built-in whois tool to find out who owns a particular IP. And so you can run this on any Unix-based platform. I'm sure there's a Windows tool for it. I'm just not sure what it is. But yeah, so we can just give this, like, this is a Cloudflare IP that I was doing some looking on. And if you look at the CIDR, this is the IP range that IP is from. And so what we can do is we can basically just do a whois, take the output, filter it down for the CIDR, and then insert this into the database, and as well as the country, which we can get down here. So this IP is Cloudflare, and so they're registered in the US. And really that's as granular as I think, pardon me, that we need to be. Obviously, there might be other people who think differently, but I think for our purposes, this is plenty. So what we can do now is, so the country I don't want to be nullable. I want there to be a country. And so this should now fail if we do this test, because it's going to say that it was looking for a country and it can't be null. Okay, so let's put this back to nullable for a second. And Laravel-analytics tests. So how do we want to structure this? Route. So this is getting this. Database missing. Okay, so test saves IP with proxy. Okay. This this test actually is about a ticket I'd submitted to there. So I know that this is basically what we're looking for. So we want to look for, we want to say, okay, so request create, request headers set. How is it checking? Exported for. Okay, so how are we going to mock this? We want to, yeah, I think we want to set the remote adder to that. And So we're going to set it to this Cloudflare IP, but we're also going to mock the response. So like even if Cloudflare ever loses ownership of this IP, it will still, this test will still pass. I'm thinking. Okay. So assert database has IP that country is going to be US. We know that. So, right. Okay. So it's not adding it to the country right now. That's okay. So if we go to the, hide that for now. Where are we looking? We're looking at page view is being created in the page view repository. No, it is being created analytics. Where is it actually at? Oh, right here. Okay. So we can say country is this, who is actually, I'm gonna comment that out for a moment here, because we're going to make this a variable. So IP equals that. So that way we can use it here and here. Okay, so private function IP whois. Pardon me. Okay, so we're given an IP, which will be a string. And we are going to use process run whois. Amazing. Okay, so if we say IP equal, I guess response equals this. Let's just dd the response. I just want to see how we get this information here. And it is never running. Interesting. Okay, so why is it not running? Okay. Why? Hello. Okay, so it's not even getting to the page view. It's not getting to the analytics here. Okay, so for now, let's go like this. We're going to make that a public function just for now. In fact, we can probably leave it as that because I don't care if anyone accesses it. It's going to return the same thing every time. In fact, I don't want this to be a whois. Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay, so we're going to say IP whois. We're going to make that a new test, and we're going to say unexpected token. What am I? Analytics 43. 43. What did I do? Unexpected token that. Did I not close a bracket somewhere? There should be. Get x forwarded for, or if there is no x forwarded for, it's the IP. Okay. Output must be of type callable. So now that's working. So let's go like this. Test. Oh, of course, it's not a pest test. So we're going to say function test can look up whois an IP. So we're going to say analytics middleware. Right. I just want to make sure that this is the right one. Analytics. So we'll say analytics equals new lat. And we're going to say analytics whois so we're going to say lookup equals that. And right now we just want to test this by itself. Okay, must be of type callable. Okay, array given. Okay, so we're not calling it correctly. So let's go take a look at the Laravel docs. Laravel process. What are we not doing? Does the output need to be? Okay, so process run. Okay, so close that. Close that. Close that. Close that. Oh my goodness, how much stuff do I got to open here? I'm just going to close everything. Okay, so we just got our analytics test and our middleware analytics. Close that and split that right. So, oh, okay. So this needs to be like this. Okay, so if we run that test, command line, and I believe it's like output that we need to look for, right? Yes. So dd response output. Cool. Okay, so why is that looking up 127? Oh, because it's not running this test. So let's filter down. Vendor bin actually I wonder no PHPUnit. For right now we're just going to use PHPUnit, but we will refactor this to do to use pest later. Okay, so there's our CIDR. So what we can do is we can say response equals that. So we want to say is there a line by line output? Probably not. So if we IDs and signals testing. Okay, so we're going to need the faking processes in a bit, but that's okay. So we want to say IP whois. So we want to get the so we want to say this assert. Like an assert contains, and the needle is going to be Cloudflare. haystack is going to be lookup. And so what we want to do is we basically want to say, how are we going to do this? This is horribly the wrong way, but again, this is not going to be the final product. We're going to refactor this. I just want to see if we're getting the right stuff here. So if we go return response, and we don't want it as that. We want to make it an array. So if we say, is there like a split, string split? No, what we want is explode. Separator is going to be, oh man, there we go. Okay, so, okay, this is actually going to fail because it's not going to contain that. What we need is, for right now, let's just return. Okay, so we're going to say lines equals that. And we're going to say for each lines as, and again, this is just as temporary. We're not actually going to keep it this way, but we're going to say for each lines as line. Why is this red underlined here? So if lines, and this is still going to be red underlined because of the same issue that we had last week, which is that IntelliFence isn't smart enough to see that. Oh, it's still lines equals explode. Okay, why explode response output? Oh, there we go. Okay, so if we have lines, for each lines as line, we want to say if line, no, if str, this is going to be line, starts with net name, return line. Okay, so again, assert contains blah, blah, blah. This should be okay now. I don't know why that's freaking out. We'll see in a sec. Okay, so argument 2 must be, oh, okay, so it can be the array. Okay, even better. So we can just return lines. Cool. Okay, so again, this is not how we want to leave it, but at the moment, this is okay. So right now, we're just doing the whois. The next thing we want to do is we want to, we really want to get the CIDR information from there. So what we'll actually say is this CIDR of that IP. And again, this is going to fail. But that's okay, because we're going to say public function CIDR. And we're going to say this IP whois. Yep. So we're going to say IP data whois. Okay, and then we want to say for each whois as line, if stir line, and just for those who are watching here, str is a Laravel helper that converts string and has a bunch of awesome helper methods that you can apply to that string to do comparisons and stuff and pull stuff out. It's awesome. Okay, so if str starts with, what is it starting with? Is it just CIDR? Yes. CIDR. Even better. So if that return str after CIDR, actually we want to include the colon because we don't want that, and then we want to trim it, which is awesome. So if we can now look at this, test can get CIDR. So we want to say CIDR. Actually, let's use like a getter since that's really what it is. IP get CIDR. Okay, so get CIDR of that IP. And really, what we should get back is this. Assert equals okay, so now we run that. Beautiful. So now we're getting the full lookup. So basically, we're testing that we can do a whois, and then also that we can go the full path. So we can get the CIDR, and we can do the whois as kind of the kind of dependency here. It will run this process and run the process run whois. So the next thing we need to do is we basically need to fake out process like this so that we're not actually running the whois every time we run the test, because that's going to be super slow. So I'm hoping it will allow us to respond or fake data. Output, okay, yes. No output, however you may specify fake process. Okay, so that's cool. So we can go like this. So the first thing we need to do is fake out process. And oh man, it's been a long time since I've done pest tests. So it's set up, yes, parent setup, and then we want to say process fake. We will import that. Okay. So basically what we're saying is every time we do a test, just fake out process, so we're not running whois each time. And then what we want to say is we want to include this in the fake. And here's where we're going to include our fake data. So process result is going to be just copy all of this. We will make a new file. That's not going to do what I want, so let's just do it like this. Tests, new folder, fixtures. Oh, let's create a new file called whois.txt. Okay. Now I think we can probably get rid of the new lines. Okay. Okay, good. And then what we want to do is process result is file get contents of our base path tests fixtures. Yeah, basically, and then we can just fix this to be whois.text. So if we, in theory, run this test again. Is it going to fail? Oh, okay, so it's not base path for that. We need to change that to I don't think if we add the slash, I don't think that's going to make, no, okay. So we need, there's a command that we can run, expects exactly 0 arguments. Oh, right, because it is that dot that. Cool. Okay, so that will run the fixtures whois, and I just want to make sure that if we fake it out, okay, so it's not, okay, so that's looking at the right file, and error exit code is, just get rid of these. Okay, so now if we run PHPUnit, what is that failing as? So the country is obviously looking at the wrong thing, so that's okay, we can get that in a minute. That's good. Okay, so that's one is this. This CIDR IP, and then we're going to say this get country IP. And so now we can also say function get country. And we'll basically just be, again, most of this, with the exception that the data we're looking for, I believe it just starts with country, but I want to double check. Yeah, it's country. So we should be able to do that. Country, it's all capitals. Oh, no, it's properly capsed. Okay, so now we can say test can get country from IP, and analytics we want to say get country of that assert equals, and this should just be US. One day I will learn how to type. Cool. So we now have a working package that is getting the correct information. So it can get the CIDR. It can get the save country with proxy. Yep. Test who is an IP. Yep. So if we run the full suite, nope, still not liking it. Oh, right, because we don't want to be storing the actual full IP. We want to be getting the CIDR. What are we missing here? Failed asserting that a row in the table matched the path. 122. IP path. Exported for. Okay, so the issue. Actually get rid of that too. No. So what are we looking at here? So IP is request headers get X forwarded for. Is there a way to disable the fake? Can we say... Okay, so I think what we're going to have to do is create a separate fake with some with the local data. when it's looking for that IP information. Okay, so we're going to fake this specifically here, and we're going to say whois local. I'm sure this is not going to work, but yeah. So when it tries to look up a local IP, we're going to have to do something about that. So the country, so we're going to say test function test if country is unknown. So we're going to say this again, but we're going to look up the IP of 10.0.0.1 because this is one of the private addresses. And so we are going to say assert equals unknown. One day I will learn how to spell. So, so there's no line, so we can just say return unknown. Okay, so right, because it's getting the faked data. So we want to, where did we copy that? That second process fake. I thought I copied it, maybe I didn't. Okay, so we're going to copy this. We're going to say local whois. File local whois.txt. We will copy this response. So now, okay, so that works. Okay, so does that fix our other test? I don't think it does. Right. So we just got to process fake. So in fact, what we can do is we can say public function fake process local. So we can say this fake process local, yes. And which test was this failing on? Line 128. Yeah, this one. Test saves IP with proxy. Okay, so we should be able to save this now. IP, oh right. And so if the IP is null, we also want to put unknown. So again, test can get country, test if country is unknown. Test if IP is unknown, and so we want to say get CIDR and same thing. Just want to return unknown if it's unknown. Okay, so now if we say IP yeah. That one's okay. This is going to be unknown. In fact, I think I even want to change these. because that's more representative of what it actually is. What did I do? IP. That gets selected twice somewhere. Line 148. Get table. The attribute CIDR unknown. Okay, so why is it replacing this text with actual CIDR? Test saves country with proxy. Test saves country with proxy, yes. So we've got the remote address set. App. Sort database has. Let's just do a page view all. Let's see what it's trying to set. Oops. Oh, right, because we need to change the migration to use the correct. So that, we do not want that nullable. Not null constraint violation. View repository test 66. Yeah, so we also want to add that to the factory. Page view factory. CIDR. It's going to be 127.0.0.1. I think that's a /8, is it not? Test fixtures, no such file or directory. I mean, I'm looking at it, it's definitely there. Test fixtures, local whois.txt. Test fixtures, whois-local.txt. Line 96. It's going to be this. What do we call it? Fake process local. Test saves IP without proxy, right? We don't want it to be that. We want this to be unknown. Yeah, sorry, I just saw your message there. Sorry, the fool. Yeah, so I'm using VS Code with the I don't even remember which theme I'm using. Yeah, material theme Pale Night. And so what we're working on. So the idea is that we've got this, well, there is a Laravel package out there called Laravel-analytics by this wdev-rs. And so it's Daniel Warner, I think, is the maintainer of it. And so the idea is that I think it collects too much data that's unnecessary. And so we're we're basically just stripping out some of the data that it collects, the kind of too granular, too specific information about people, like their specific IP address and their city and that kind of stuff, and replacing it with some more generic stuff. So just like their IP range and their country that the IP belongs to. We're trying to make this more privacy focused. I'm a very big proponent of privacy, and I don't want to collect any more information than is absolutely necessary. And so, so we're just kind of stripping it out down to kind of the nuts and bolts, and just adding on what we need. And that's requiring us to add some new functionality to get that information. Okay, so, oh yeah, that's a great goal. Yeah, I agree. It makes me feel gross when companies just keep my information for way longer than they need to. It just, something about it just hurts my heart. And so I want to give back to the community and just say, like, look, like this one is enough to do your analytics and basic tracking to make sure, you know, you're, to make sure your site is operating correctly. Like, it's good to know where people are coming from as far as like the path that they take through your application, but I don't need to know a person's IP address. It's just, that's too much information. It doesn't help me in any way. It is, at least for the scale of the applications that I build, if someone gives me the ISP that they're coming from, or even their range, they're probably going to be one of the only people coming from that range. And so I can still narrow it down enough to help troubleshoot if that's what we need to do. But for my purposes, what I want the analytics for is just to see, like, is my site performing normally? Are people getting to the right pages? Are errors being thrown? That kind of thing. And so I don't need to know someone's IP address. I don't care the exact person that's coming to the page. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the difference between knowing someone's city and someone's home address. That's exactly it, right? Like, I don't need to know their home address. Like, it's important for me maybe that I know like what region they're coming from, but do I care what house they live in? No, I don't. I don't even care about the city. So, where were we? Okay, so we have a passing test suite. Right? Okay, so we have passing tests. Okay, so what have we done here? So we have removed city. Yes, we've done this. We've changed country to country. Okay, don't care. We're doing the whois to get information. Yep. Store side instead of full IP. Yes, we're doing that. Okay, Iona has no rate limit for IP lookups. Exactly. Okay, so I think we have a working package here. Let's just go through this again. So what have we added? We've added the fake process local. I just want to fix the spelling of this because that's going to bother me. Test saves IP with proxy. Actually, in fact, we don't even care about this because we don't care about the IP specifically. Let's go like this, because what we really care about is, well, actually, yes, we do care about it because this is the correct response from a 10 address. So it is saving the CIDR. That's good. That's what we want. It's just the CIDR is going to be unknown. Okay. Test saves country with proxy. Yes, it's saving that. Okay, path. Yep. So test can get the CIDR. So it is successfully looking up the IP address and getting the range. Oops. It can whois, so it can get the correct net name, which is Cloudflare net, which is good. Test can get country from IP. Yep. So it can look up that IP and get the US, and then it can test that the country is unknown and the IP is unknown. So fake process local. Yep. Those are all good. Okay. So I think. Right. So we're defaulting that. I think we're okay here. So we can say, you know what, I want to get rid of that PHP result cache. Git ignore PHPUnit.result.cache. Good stuff. Okay, so adding PHP unit results to result cache to git ignore. Okay, we want to add our tests first. Adding tests for new functionality. And then, oops. Yep, and then adding new functionality. Okay, and before we do anything else, we're going to convert this to pest because I prefer pest. And so if we go to pest PHP, get started. So we can go like this, composer require like that. Do you trust pest? Yes, we do. Cool. And so we can go installing pest. And then we want to initialize. Okay, not right now because I've done that already. And then we can remove, well, we'll leave the example in there for now. I don't think it matters, but we'll get rid of it in a minute. Oh, okay. So Pest PHP is just a different testing framework. It's newer, kind of the de facto community standard has been PHPUnit for a very long time. And one of the core members of Laravel built this PHP testing framework. And so it stands on top of PHPUnit, but it uses a lot more, I'm going to call them fluent tests. And so I prefer the syntax of pest tests versus PHPUnit. And because I do so much of my work in Laravel, it's really nice to have that kind of continuity. One of the things that I really, really love about Laravel, and actually the core thing that I love about Laravel is its focus on developer experience, which is something that I don't think any other language out there can say, that they put so much of an emphasis on Laravel as Laravel does. It's just such a beautiful language to write in because everything, they try to make everything as English-like as possible while still being a programming language. And so the idea is that you should be able to read a function in plain English or very close to plain English, and understand what it's doing. Like you might not understand what's behind it, and you can kind of dig into that and figure that out. But the idea is like you should be able to write Laravel code that is completely human readable to a person who doesn't know how to program, and they should at least get the gist of what's going on. And so I love that concept. And so this package specifically is actually for Laravel projects. And if you're not familiar with Laravel itself, it's a PHP framework that's built for rapid prototyping and is focused on developer experience. If that kind of sums it up, I think. Now, because it's built on PHPUnit, there is a way to migrate your PHPUnit tests to migration from PHPUnit. Okay, so here we go. So Pest is built on top of PHPUnit, right? So migrating from PHPUnit is a simple process, and we complete it in a few steps. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go like this, and we are going to install this package. Yeah, exactly, right? Like it's so much nicer and more, I don't know what the word is. I feel like I want to code more when I enjoy myself. And Python is exactly the same. Like Laravel goes further than Python with where it comes to like going plain English, but same idea, right? Like it makes it fun to do, right? So I'm very, very Laravel focused for sure. Okay, so we'll require Symfony console. What are we missing here? So requires pest, conflicts with your composer. Require Symfony console. Yeah, but the package is fixed to 6.4.1. Okay, so let's take a look at our composer JSON. What do we got? PHP 8, Illuminate support. Yeah, that's fine. I'm curious. Pardon me. Okay, so why is it not satisfiable? Conflicts with 1.23. Is pest 2? Yeah, pest should be pest 2. So why is it trying to install pest 3? Okay, let's go like this. Composer install. Upgrade. Okay, let's get rid of. So what the heck now? PHPUnit version 9 of what? Eliminate support. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so now it's installing pest 2, which is what we need. We will migration from pest PHP. This is what we want now. Composer require. Okay, so this is cool. Now it's going to work. Okay, so we should be able to run this pest drift. And what this does is it basically converts these PHPUnit tests to the anonymous style of pest tests. So awesome. Test directory has been migrated to pest with 3 files changed. Let's go take a look at them. So if we go into analytics controller test now, yeah, okay, perfect. So these should be in the pest format. We can delete this example test. Laravel-analytics test before each. Okay, good. Package providers, yes. So now if we go pest, awesome. Just got to do this once. Migrate configuration. Okay, cool. Pest. We have passing tests. Beautiful. And so with that, we can, let's go like this, like that. Installing pest and its dependencies. Now we can say converting test to pest. All right, so the other thing that I want to take a look at, and I don't know if this package has it, but okay, so there are workflows. Okay, so let's see what happens here. What is it doing here? Check out code, run PHP, set up problem matchers. Okay. Install dependencies. Yep. Composer update, execute tests. And so we want to change this to pest. Okay. So let's push this up. So migrating GitHub workflow from PHPUnit to pest. Now if we sync these changes, hopefully it won't fail. Okay, and so if we go to our repo, if we go to our actions, hopefully, oh, I understand my workflows. Yes, go ahead and enable them. Is it going to let us run them once? Run tests. Oh. Well, let's space these out how I like them anyways. Name. Cool. So we want to go trigger workflow to run our tests. And if all things go correctly, we should see a workflow pop up here in a moment. There we go. Ooh, actually they're using 8.1. I really want to use 8.3 as well. So we will add PHP 8.3 to GitHub workflow. We're not going to trigger this right now just because it's not that important. Okay, so what failed here? Install dependencies, right. Require PHP 7.3, yeah, so why is it trying to do 7.3? Laravel framework 8. Yeah, so I think what we're going to say is Laravel 10 only. Because... yeah, Matrix Laravel stability, Matrix OS. Yeah, I don't personally. If someone wants to make it and check that it works on 9, that's fine actually. And we can go to our composer JSON here. We don't need this drift plugin anymore, so we can probably remove that, revert that. Let's say removing pest-plugin-drift because we only needed it for that moment of conversion. Okay. Cool. So it's running on PHP, all of them. Good stuff. Although, yeah. Yeah. So this is definitely back-end related stuff. So the idea is this is for an analytics package. So when, like, let's say you go to a website, we want to track who's hitting that website and what the path they're getting, but we also want it to be privacy focused. So we don't want to track everything about that person. Like, I don't care the exact person, but I want to know where people are coming from when they get to my website. And that's what this package does. Is it just in the database, every time you hit a page, it adds another row of their information. And I can show you the row in a minute here. I just want to take a look at what these failures are. Yeah, pest 2. What is, I'm curious. Pest PHP, pest. What are the minimum requirements here for PHP? 8.1. Okay, so that should be okay. 8.1. Okay, we're going to do this my way. We're going to say we don't care about Laravel 8, 9, or 10. If someone wants to make it work, great. We're only going to run 8, 9, or 10. And Laravel 10 is, I believe, where is the framework? There we go. What are the minimum requirements for Laravel? Requires PHP 8.1. Okay, so this should work. Laravel, yes. So removing old Laravel versions from workflow. Actions, let's try this one. Green. Okay, good. So at least 8.3, and that's all I really care about. If it works on 8.1, okay, good. Okay, so we have a working package here. The next thing that we want to do is we want to release it. And this is going to be interesting because I've never released a package on Packagist, so we're going to learn as we go here. Sign in, use GitHub. Excellent. Yes. Where is that? All right, so define your dependencies. Yeah, got all that. So publishing packages. So we want to go composer JSON. And so authors. GT Smith. Okay, and the home page is going to be my repo. Collect page, collect anonymized page view data in your application without third-party tracking. Yep. Okay, so require all this stuff is fine. We don't care about. I'm not going to worry about the namespacing right now. We can leave it as wdev-rs for now. At some point in the future, I might change that to me, but for right now, I'm okay with that. Pardon me. So define your package. Okay, so composer validate. Composer validate. Well, okay, so composer update. Right, because we don't need the drift. So now if we go validate, okay, it's valid. Okay, commit the file. Add the composer JSON to your Git. Okay, so let's submit those changes. Removing drift plugin. Updating composer with my info. Okay, and so now yeah, merge conflicts are an inevitability for sure. Depending on how far or how long it's been since they've diverged, it can be as simple as like reverting one file. Other times it can be, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on Twitch or YouTube, but a clusterfuck. It is a nightmare when things don't when things have diverged so far that you have to merge a bunch of stuff back in and deal with like 1,000 conflicts. And especially with, it's funny that we're talking about this during this Packagist. So the composer.lock file is like, this is the list of dependencies that are brought in from all of the different packages and all their dependencies and dependencies and dependencies, right? So this file is 9,000 lines long, 9,418 lines long. If you have a merge conflict with your composer.lock file, it's annoying. Let's just put it that way. It's basically like you just pick one side, you select that side and you run your composer update and have it rebuild this file, because it is insanely difficult to keep this or to fix this. So yeah, it's basically like it's almost easier to just blow it away and start over. So yeah, always fun. Okay, so repository URL. So what are we? We are next, say, Laravel-analytics. Check. Package name, we want to submit, yes. Please set up the GitHub hook for Packagist so that it gets updated whenever you push. Okay, so make sure the Packagist application, check your package list. Okay, so if you still need to set up sync, try triggering a manual account sync to set up hooks. All right, so now is that, okay, the warning is gone. So it looks like we are good to go. So that was a lot, a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So I guess that's really the, do I get blurry vision after coding for hours? No, I don't. But that's because I've been on the computer my entire life. Like, so my mom likes to tell this story that when I was 2.5 years old, I used to sit on her lap and show her how to do Control-Alt-Delete to reboot the computer. And that was in the days before Windows, like when Control-Alt-Delete would literally just reboot your computer. And so I was 2.5 years old, and I'm 40, almost 41 now. So my eyes have very much gotten used to the fact that I'm on the computer a lot of the time. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of line of code. I was building a game. Yeah, so exactly. Like in Unity, like I've never written any Unity code. I don't do C# or anything like that, or C++ or anything like that. But there's a couple of guys that I watch on YouTube that do game development and stuff, and so like watching what they have to deal with is it like I feel I'm very thankful that I have uh, a a framework like Laravel that abstracts a lot of the not ugly code, because it's not ugly. They write it very beautifully, but the stuff that I don't care about, like I don't want to worry about building a routing system and a cookie system and an authentication system, right? I want to build the app. I want to build the thing that I'm thinking about. I don't want to think about all the ancillary stuff. Think about sessions. I don't want to think about all that stuff, right? I don't want to think about database calls. I want to think about, I have this idea for an app in my mind and I want to get it down and out as fast as I possibly can so that if it can make me money, which obviously this one is not, this is going to be open source, but like there are projects that I have in mind that I want to build that will make money. And so I want to turn that idea into a money building engine as quick as possible. And the beautiful thing about Laravel is because they have all of these things already done for you. You don't have to focus on doing the same boilerplate of writing like database calls or what a data model looks like, or tracking request verification and all that stuff, right? Like all of this stuff is just there for you. You just have to bring the idea and get it out there. So yeah. Yeah, so any other questions in the chat? Also, what's my GitHub? Oh man, like that whole Unity thing. And so, sorry, I'll go back to my code so you can, if anyone's watching this, so they can see the text. But yeah, so we're migrating from Unity due to the recent concerns with their monetization policies, but that's a whole nother topic. I could go on for hours about this, and I'm just like a bystander, and I don't even play games. I'm not a gamer by any definition. I think like the last time I played a game was years ago, and like I've never been a gamer. Like it's just never been a thing for me. But I followed that news story with interest because I thought it was so fascinating to watch a company destroy any semblance of goodwill that they had with an entire community and so quickly. Like, and it's not even something like to me anyways, I don't think it's something that like the concept that they were trying to implement, like this whole like charging developers to sell app to use their game engine on their apps kind of thing, right? I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if Unity wants to make money from their product, they should have every right to do that. What I think is just bananas is the way they went about it, and the tiers that they had for who was going to have to pay what amount. And like I look at it as just like a PR failure. And I'm the fact that the CEO, left, whatever. I think he was probably strongly suggested to leave, but like the all these problems could have been avoided with just a little bit of communication to the community and some back and forth with the community, not just like the coming in 3 months or whatever it was going to be, we're going to start charging you a significant sum of money to use something that's been free forever, or maybe not free forever, but it's been the usage for like small developers and indie developers was basically zero. And to just say you're going to be paying us you're going to be required to pay us hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, is just like bonkers to me. And the fact that no one at Unity saw this coming, or like no one in a position of power anyways saw this coming, right? Like I'm sure like the actual bottom line workers saw it, but like when management doesn't see that, it's just like, what are you people doing? It blows my mind, because it is such an avoidable problem. And it's just crazy to me. I don't know how else to say it. It is just crazy to me that even happened. It shouldn't have. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of things to say about that. Yeah, exactly. They used to not charge you until you made a large sum of money. Exactly, right? And I think that's a fair way to do it. Like if you're a large studio, yeah, of course, like you should have to pay something back. Like, just like I believe like companies like Microsoft need to contribute more to the open source community. And I don't just mean by hosting GitHub, but I mean like actually contributing uh, like code to these projects. And I think they do a really good job. Like, don't get me wrong, I think they do a really good job of it. I just think they could do more, because they've built these entire businesses like Azure, with Microsoft, and Amazon with their AWS. Like, they have built these multi-billion-dollar enterprises on the backs of free software. And I think that's good. Like, I think that's a really awesome thing that they are able to do that. But I think you should have to, or maybe not have to, I think you should, out of the goodness of your heart, want to contribute more back to the communities that you have built your enterprise on, right? Like, I think there needs to be that give and take. And I like when Google had their 80/20 time, I think that was awesome, right? And I don't think they do that anymore. I think some teams might still, but I don't think it's like company mandated anymore. But when Google did their 80/20 time, I think that was awesome, right? 20% of your time is devoted to just something, right? And so many of those developers use that 80/20 time to contribute back to open source, right? Because they could see that there were projects that they were using that they wanted to make better because it would help them. It's just this awesome feedback loop, right? And so I think stuff like that is super important to the community at large, not just the free software community, but the world, right? Like, you have businesses that have nothing to do with software that are still using free software. They might not even know they're using it. I just think there should be more of a contribution back to free software. I think just more is better, right? And it could be monetarily. I think it could be giving developers time to spend on these projects. I think is would be super awesome. But yeah, I'm very much, I feel very fortunate to live in a time where people want to share software for free. And so I want to do my best to contribute back to this community that I know that I've taken from. And so I want to give back as much as I can. And so, yeah, I've to me, that's just really important. Any last questions? I I do backend. So this particular package that we forked and did our stuff on today, our work on today, this is definitely a backend project. I actually, it's weird. I enjoy front end more than back end, although I am better at back end than I am at front end, if that makes sense. I really love design. I just suck at it. And so I really like taking someone's designs and making them the front end. So that's my front end stuff. And I really like using stuff like Tailwind and stuff for stuff like that. But the logic stuff I'm better at, right? Like if someone gives me a problem, I can usually get through the logic of figuring out how to make that thing do that thing. When it comes to making it look nice, I'm just not very good at it. Like I prefer Laravel's Livewire package because it really doesn't, it kind of takes care of a lot of the front end stuff for you. You just have to do the CSS and stuff, but like you don't have to worry about JavaScript or anything like that. It gives you the ability to kind of write your front end code in PHP, which is awesome. So it means that I can just focus on the PHP side, which again, like it's kind of this bridge between two awesome worlds where you have your back end Laravel stuff and your front end Livewire stuff. And all of it can be written in PHP, or the majority of it can be written in PHP. You might have to sprinkle in a little JavaScript in here and there, but for the most part, it's just PHP and I guess Alpine because it's written, it's backed in, it's the JavaScript that the Livewire package uses is Alpine. It's actually written by the same guy, Caleb Porzio, who is another really kind of, I want to call him famous guy in the Laravel community. But yeah, he wrote Alpine JS, which is like a very kind of stripped down. You can think of it almost like Vue.js, but really stripped down. And so he uses Alpine to kind of build this Laravel package, so you don't have to actually write any of the JavaScript. It's kind of they provide a lot of Java or Laravel hooks to do the JavaScripty things without actually having to write JavaScript. Is Laravel relevant in the job market? I'd say yes, with a caveat that comparatively there are other languages and frameworks that are probably more relevant. Like when you're talking about like things like React and Next.js, Vue.js, those are all very, very kind of commonplace. I think Laravel is finally shedding the stigma of being a PHP framework, and more places and more companies are looking at it because you can prototype so rapidly with it that you can get apps out the door extremely quickly with Laravel. And so I think companies are seeing that benefit as an alternative to something like a React and Next.js. Me personally, I can do React. I don't particularly enjoy it. I think a lot of the things that it does feel kind of backwards to me. And especially with the React server components, it feels like they're trying to do too much in JavaScript, and I don't know. It just feels weird to me, but that my bias is 100% is that I've been doing PHP for a very long time. And so I just naturally have that, PHP is good, right? And React for me is much newer, and so I don't have as much experience with it. Maybe if I did more of it, maybe I'd feel differently. But I know that just from the little bit that I've had to do, it just something feels weird about doing back end, like hardcore back end code in JavaScript. It just feels weird to me. But like I'm not slamming it. Like I think if you can be productive in a language, just go do it, right? Like I'm very much not in the whole like tribal camp style. Like I prefer Laravel for sure. Like that is I love, like genuinely love programming in Laravel. I know that other people look at PHP and they're like, ugh, gross. And that's fine, right? Like it's totally a preference thing. It's whatever you feel most most comfortable in and most productive in is at the end of the day what to me is what is important. And so like I'm not a big fan of React, but that's just like a personal preference. If companies out there are making React work, like all the power to them, right? Like I want to see the world get better and as quickly as we can. And so if a company is productive in React, do React. Yeah, like the great thing about Laravel is you can scale up, like you can learn it so quickly because of how English like it is. And I don't have a good example on my laptop right now that I can pull up, but maybe next week what we can do is we can just go through some of the things that I like, some of the packages that I like that are really well written, and even just Laravel itself, and just explain like why it's so good. Like, I mean, I don't want to spend a ton of time, I guess, on this, but if we look at the Laravel documentation, like this is the documentation for Laravel. Like this is by Laravel. And so you can tell, like, even just by the design, and what I mean by design is like the styling of this page, like this just looks so much better than any other language, any other package that I've seen, right? Like usually it's just like a white page with like some, black and white text and some code blocks, whatever, right? They don't use color, they don't use spacing. Like no one has designed the page. It's just kind of like the documentation just kind of got spit out by a system, and it's just functional, right? But like when someone, to me, when I believe that when someone puts as much detail or as much thought and energy into making the documentation look this good, you know that the software is going to be that good because they've spent that much time kind of sculpting it, and they know that it's important to be visually good for the person who needs to use it, right? Like again, documentation out there on any site, if it's functional, like great. But the fact that I can go to the documentation and this is what I'm presented with, like this just looks nice. Like I feel more calm just reading documentation. And so this is the kind of care that the Laravel core team puts into their product, and it shows. And I am a very big Laravel proponent, obviously, but like it's stuff like this that just like it reminds me why I love it so much. It's just like it's so nice to look at the documentation. Even something as boring as documentation looks nice. Yeah, exactly, right? Like we spend so much time of our of our job, of our project, of whatever, right? In the documentation, trying to learn, trying to improve ourselves. And so when I look at this documentation, it's just like they understand that I'm going to be spending time in here. And so they want to make it as gentle and as non invasive as they can by using colors and like actual design principles, like people who go to design school to do websites and stuff, right? Like they did this to their documentation. And so you can tell that they care about me, right? Like as the developer, they care about me, and that means a lot. And so it's just kind of like a microcosm of the kind of Laravel community where like they care about me reading documentation. You know that their product, the Laravel framework, is going to be treated with as much care and respect and developer focus as the documentation. And so I never feel like I'm fighting against the framework. They don't make things magic. At least I don't feel like they do. And again, this is coming from the rose-colored glasses of a Laravel user, but it's just I feel like everything that happens in Laravel is still very obvious. It's not magic, or at least most of it is not magic. And it's just so nice to use. Like going back to the whole like being readable, right? Like so if I was to take my mother, for example, right, and I was to read her this code block, Like if process run lsla c in output Laravel, like she might not know what ls-la means, but she can understand that if I'm saying C in output Laravel, she as a complete like not programmer would understand generally what we're looking for here, right? Like this is the kind of thing that I love about it, is just everything just kind of flows as English, or tries to anyways, right? So yeah, so any last question? Yeah, exactly. Spending a lot of time in the Spring documentation. It hasn't been easy to understand. I have never used Spring or Spring Boot. I'm not a Java person whatsoever. But at a previous role that I was in, I was the lead of a DevOps team, and so I had to work with our developers to kind of package their microservices that they use Spring Boot and deploy them, kind of thing, right? And so I didn't go into the Spring documentation very often, but there were times where I had to understand like the switches and stuff, and even that just felt it felt like a chore. I don't know how else to describe it. It felt like a chore, and so like stuff like that. I think, and it's funny because like using Laravel and all of the Laravel-y things, like the documentation and all of the Laravel helpers and stuff, it makes it really hard to want to use other things because this Laravel just makes it so easy. And I know I sound like the Laravel spokesman. I'm not. I'm just a very happy user about it, like happy user of it. And yeah, like it's just it blows my mind that these other projects have documentation that is just so difficult to parse and to understand. And it's like it's written by geniuses, so it's not like it's wrong, but it's like it's written by geniuses who for geniuses, right? And not all of us are geniuses, right? Sometimes I just want to look up a quick paragraph about what a function does or something, and I shouldn't have to spend 20 minutes reading and rereading a paragraph just to understand what this thing does. Like it should be so simple. And that's like, if this is just a random documentation page, but like all of them, like you could just go to them and you could just see what things are happening very, very easily. Like event listen and catch, right? Like this is a super simple syntax, right? All right. Take one more kind of line or question or whatever, and then I think I'm gonna get out of here. I'm starving. It's like 8:30, and I have not had dinner yet. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, and I would even say that this is like complicated for Laravel. Like, the event system is actually like I wouldn't call like beginner level stuff, but if you look at something like what's a good like beginner level thing? Let's go to the basics. Okay, so controllers. Actually, you know what? Let's go to routing. So like when you're defining your page routes, so you call the route facade, and it's a get route. Here's the path, and then here's what you want it to do, right? So like in this case, they're just calling like an anonymous function that's going to return hello world. But if you have like a controller, it's just like route get the path that it's going to listen for and the controller that it's going to go to and the method on that controller. Like this is a very very simple syntax, right? Like I feel like it's just so when you think about like logically what you want a route to do, right? Like you want to define this concept of a route, then you want to narrow it down by the method or the action that they're going to take, and then where they're going to go and how they're going to get there, right? Like it just to me, at least in my brain, just seems like the most it's the most obvious way to write something like a route. And so, yeah, this is just my thank you for coming to my TED talk, you know. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been fantastic. I love this kind of back and forth conversation. Yeah, like I really appreciate you guys stopping by. Would appreciate a follow if you haven't already done so. And I stream every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Mountain, 9 o'clock Eastern. And usually it's some kind of Laravel-ish stuff. I've got some other ideas for future videos, but if you guys got any ideas, just like let me know. I'm also on YouTube at nexa_dev. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. And I will see you next week. Later.